Good morning, friends, and welcome to another edition of Unlock Brand with Bradford. This is a series we started to really spread a knowledge on how licensing works. Licensing is a very large industry globally, and India also last 15 odd years we've been seeing a significant uh, growth on the licensing front. It is very important that we learn from best practices. We look at what are the changes happening in the licensing industry, how players are evolving. The entire ecosystem is evolving from our potential licensees, the licensors, and also the agencies like Bradford. So just to give you background, I'm Gaurav Mare. I'm the director at Bradford India. Bradford is the leading global licensing firms which operates out of US, London, and India. We were the pioneers in licensing way back about 30 years back in US to work with some major corporations to work on their global licensing programs. And India also, we were pioneers. We started licensing as agency operations about 15 years back. And since then, we've been working with a lot of companies in helping them to enter Indian market, a lot of global IPs to enter Indian market, and also work with a lot of Indian IPs. And this is what something which we are very, very proud of, that we as a company, Bradford, understands and recognizes that India also has a very large capability of producing their homegrown IPs. So we work with them on developing their licensing programs. And I think that's also a way forward for licensing in a cross category. So this today's special is on fashion, because as I mentioned last time, we will take up every time one particular category and go into depth of that and bring in somebody who's a part of a domain and understands that. So fashion is one of the largest contributors in licensing, contributes anything from depending on the country to country, but anything upward of 20% to 25% in the overall licensing space. India, particularly by system sales, it would be the largest contributor in the licensing. And we have seen a lot of success stories in licensing, and we've also seen a lot of failures in licensing. And because I always say the fashion, unlike other licensing programs, is a very long-term strategy, and it is a very integrated strategy. It's not really that you, in a lot of other cases, you do a licensing programs run for a shorter duration. But when you run a licensing program, especially in the fashion, you need to put up a very, very long-term strategy. And today I'm delighted to have a special guest, Mr. Anupam Biswas, who is Senior Vice President with Arvind Brands, and he's with part of us with our panelists today. And also my colleague, Vatsal Vijay, who's part of Bradford India, is going to be part of the discussion. So we will start this session with picking up mind of Anupam on largely on how fashion he's seen is evolving fashion licensing, and then probably we get into a little more specific subjects. So over to you, Anupam, and give your viewpoint on how you've seen the licensing changing, and your company, particularly Arvind Brands, I should compliment, has been a front runner in the overall licensing space. You were the first ones to understand and adopt licensing as a full developed program, and one of the largest successes in the fashion licensing. I will give absolute credit to Arvind Brands on their and the performance and success. So over to you, Anupam, of your own understanding and what is happening at Arvind, what is happening in the overall licensing space.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. So yeah, to give a introduction myself, I'm basically heading the design and product part for the Arvind, specifically for Flying Machine and Ed Hardy. Yeah, Arvind as a brand, as a portfolio, if you see the portfolio, we have the best of the best in class brands with us. And you take casuals, you take denims, you take formals, you take sports. We have the best of the best brands, from US Polo to Gap, to Tommy Hilfiger, to Calvin Klein. So the idea was, we are very clear, a decade back, maybe more than a decade back. So it's the market which is very much nascent at that point of time, and it was purely unexplored to some extent. So at that point of time, we started adopting the licensing part of it, and we have a huge portfolio and a beautiful umbrella under that portfolio, which I wouldn't say that cross each other. They have a basically good, nice, segmented, very nicely segmented branch licenses brand.
Yeah, sure. So, and how do you, because you have had multiple brands, they were coming into the value segment, you had a premium segment, and now you have a ultra premium segment also, and the segregation is there. How do you see it from a design viewpoint? Because you lead design and it's most sensitive part of it. I always say in fashion licensing, design actually sits in the center of it. You know, everything is around the design capability, and then it goes into, on one side goes into the retail experience you create, and how to pass that same design thinking to your retail experience offering or your last mile the consumer interface. And also it goes backward towards the manufacturing. How do you alignment on the product development side? So, but design always stay in the center of a licensing program. And I feel that companies who have a great sensibility on the design thinking, and they are able to run programs better. Otherwise, you normally are not able to evolve, keep your brand relevant, and so on and so on. And especially when you started Flying Machine, it's a brand which has been there for ages, and it's still he's seen many avatars and seen pressures from global brands and a lot of other companies coming in. How do you was able to think through and keep the brand still very relevant in the market, and what goes into the design thinking for you?
So if you see the brand portfolio, the whole brand pyramid is being divided. Of course, whether you said there's, of course, there's a value part of the business, there's a premium part of the business, and of course there's a luxury part of the business. So yeah, we have been taken care, all of them, and there's a great collaboration with the licensor itself, and it's totally depend how the design and product to total as a strategy it works for the market. Markets behave very, very differently in India. It's not the same. What north is not going to be the same as the south. So you need to have a very, very broader and perspective about the brand. Brands come with a lot of positivity, a lot of genuineness, a lot of goodwill. You have to just convert. You have to just make it so that it connects well with the strategy what you have defined. And of course, you have your financial goals along with it, making it sure the DNA is intact always, keeping the DNA intact and keep targeting your TG. So design itself has worked very well, because you can't say that a brand in US or Europe will work exactly the same way in India. India is more colorful, it's more vibrant, it's more flamboyant. Europe is more about darks, more about black, more about gray. So you can't just replicate. So you need to have understanding. You need to have a lot of the design just not going to be designed. It's more would be based on a lot of analytics, a lot of learning, a lot of studies, and of course working with directly with the in collab with the licensors, the asset owners, and it has to be two-sided flow, and keeping in your financial goals in focus.
And before I pass it on to Vatsal, I would like to have one question in terms of, when you do the design thinking and the collaboration you split with the brand owner, how much is the real contribution? They have a global design thinking and structure, and how much they give you freedom to really improvise for Indian market, and how this whole flow goes in?
It totally depends on brand to brands. Some of the brands which are really because DNA of the brand, you have to keep it intact. If you don't keep the DNA of the brand, it's of no. So many of the brands, they have been, you can design, but the approval finally comes to from the license. And at one go, it's better also because you keep the guideline, you keep the flow, you keep the branding guidelines, you keep the structure of the brand much more intact. If you go more wider, if you try to basically try to address all the audience, maybe no. Then a sports brand can't be doing a lot of cult. Same way, maybe a cult brand can't be doing a formal shirt along with it. You have to keep the DNA of the brand. It's better to work in collab with the licensors, and it's for good for both. For a long run, it's always better for both of them to grow in each. And India is a brilliant market. It's still in such a big growth trajectory. So we should look for coming decades. We should look for how it's gonna be. Yeah, currently it's slowed up, but this is not going to be the constant. Consumption story is going to be the constant. Consumption story is not out. The aspiration is not out. People connect is not out. So it's a very positive in the future.
Over to you, Vatsal, for your question.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you, Anupam. That was really inspiring. The way you have taken things and you have headed things at Arvind for a decade now. Yeah, I believe. And so I have got a couple of things which I would like the speakers and the participants to have an understanding and an overview from your perspective, because since you have been coming, from the house of Arvind Brand. Okay, I would really appreciate if you can share some insights how this, venture of this international brands has changed the entire, or I would say they have revolutionized the entire fashion industry in the Indian market. Okay? Because India has been, it's a huge population. Okay? They've got, customers across the segment, right from the premium to mid-scale, everywhere. So how do you want to share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so again, Arvind, if you see the portfolios, we have the best of the best brands covering from the casuals to the sports, the best-in-class US Polo. You have denims, Calvin Klein, you have the formal Arrow. Best of the best brands are there in our portfolio. They come under one umbrella. And of course, we have our own homegrown brand, Flying Machine. And then you have a first youth brand, Ed Hardy. So all the brands, they have a very, very defined TGs. And these are the brands, the licensing basically majorly helps you in, it's a medium to connect to those TGs. Every brand has an aspiration, every brand has a DNA, every brand has a very direct connect to the customer. What we have to ensure that these all DNAs all connect, remain in right. You can't just overlapping each other, or you can't be just taking one TG to another brand or licensing to each other. So yeah, it's an Indian market is very complex and concentrated. You can't just take any of the brands and try thoughtfully that this will work if it worked very well in North, it will work very well in South or Northeast. So to instance, even Ed Hardy, it's a purely acceptable brand in North, but the acceptance is pretty low at South because of its flamboyancy, because of its vibrancy. So if you try to close up or you try to tighten up those vibrancies, you would not be able to justify to the DNA of the brand. So in some of the cases, you have to just ensure that the brand remains to the focus, to the DNA. And always a huge amount of growth. Never look for the bigger horizon. Population of 10% or 5% is also there. India is a huge, huge market.
Exactly. Very true, Anupam. And in fact, the way Arvind has created that, segment in the market, and I would say that there was a gap, because India has been a very price-sensitive market actually. So, and with the rise of all these digital spaces, right from Myntra to Walmart and Flipkart of the world, okay, Amazon. So a lot of discounting factors have come into the place, okay. And you have to have the option for everyone actually. You have to have a Flying Machine, you have to have Calvin Klein, you have to have a Nautica, in place. And that's how you guys have created that wonderful section. So coming to the next thought, how would you take this growth of digital space? I would say, let's say when I'm talking about the m-commerce or e-commerce, okay, because they have again created a wide thing in the market, and they've actually created an opportunity, right from the small scale to the larger players, everybody to venture into and create their complete portfolio. So how do you see, coming up with this, segment of e-commerce and m-commerce players, and how that has actually helped in the evolution of the entire retail sector in the market, the Indian market?
Yeah, I would say that e-commerce is inevitable right now. The way the industry is growing, the way licensing is growing, the way the brands are growing, it's totally inevitable. If you don't have a presence in e-commerce, they're the fastest growing segment in past half of the decade, and they will be next decade will be owned by them. Recently, for Flying Machine, we have inked a deal with Flipkart, the biggest e-com platform, and it's a basically mutual fits for both of them, for both for the platform, for the e-commerce platform also, and for the brands also. Future growth, future horizons are purely will be defined by e-commerce, whether it's mobile commerce or whether it's a e-commerce platform. Another thing which I would say that even if the retailers are there or any of the brand owners, they can do integrations. There are not many integrations can happen. There can be omni integrations can happen. There can be fulfillment integrations can happen. But the main focus, what everybody has to remember, the next decade will be of slowly will be of e-commerce. We know how much investment is coming out in that. Their financial goals are far much even more than what you can think about. So more or less, if you have a partnership of a producer or a brand creator, and then you have a platform, and then you have a fulfillment services or partners, as these are the three things what will make the game changer for the coming decade. Nevertheless, there's opportunities for lot many domestic players and even for the producers. Recently, I've seen there's a brand from Tirupur, Yuta, and it's phenomenally doing brilliantly at Flipkart and Myntra portal. They have the capacities and they have taken the licenses. They have taken the licenses with DC Comics. They're selling along with the DC Comics along. So he has showcased more than 500, 600 SKUs at one given point. He has operational efficiencies to produce them up and to showcase them up. So it's how you take your advantage of the licensing and get in partnership, get in collab with platforms, and you have a best of fulfillment facilities with you. Nobody can stop make you growing. And another, I would suggest that which has been less overly, not much even explored in India, is basically the social platform. Till now, it's everybody takes as a tool to just to showcase their campaigns, to showcase their what are they planning to do as a product strategy into other social platforms. But what I can see is Instagram selling is going to be brilliant. You can curate the content. The customer doesn't want to see what product you're selling. They want to see how the usage is. They want to see how and that's Instagram is the best platform. And it's purely mobile platform. And you can yourself know everybody. We spend more than 4 to 5 hours on a mobile. And Instagram would be easily would be half an hour to 1 hour of everybody to the team what you're targeting at. Right. So it's a brilliant and going forward the way not many investments are happening through Azure and plus WhatsApp and plus, so it's gonna be this is gonna be the game changer for the next decade. I can purely bet.
Anupam, I just wanted to add, take your mind because you come from a design viewpoint and you have raised a very important question that this whole transformation from very clearly brick and mortar to this whole digital life and digital economy and transfer in a mobile economy going forward. And so the designs, the whole process, has the timelines changed because the kind of planning you used to do for the new line coming in, and we were very conventional in thinking there is a spring, summer, there's autumn, winter, and likes of that. Is this going to change with this fast fashion and hyper fast fashion going on, and a lot of people want every time a new freshness coming in? And how do you really think through what is going to be the future of design thinking in this?
See, basically being in design, of course, you want to do more things. You want to showcase more. The way you said the conventional business model in India is autumn, winter, and spring, summer. I personally don't think it's gonna be remain the same. It's very fast evolving. When you come to e-commerce, it's everything digital. It's a live data analytics which happens on a daily basis. You get reports maybe in 2 days, maybe in a week or fortnight. It totally depends on you how do you want the reports to read it up. And people want to take advantages of it. They have to do more capsules. They have to do, and frankly speaking, any kind of capsule collections will always help you in your financial systems also. Your inventories will be much more tightened. You'll not be able to, your capex will be much more least invested into it. Your working capital will be much more lean. So it's a pure 100% win-win situation if you want to go more digital, more capsule, more lean, more closer to the sea rather than you can always have, see, basically, it's simple as that. As long as you have the visibility of a collection, which you can design 6 months or 8 months before, you do that. But anything which don't have a visibility, it's just the betting over it. It's just like you're just trying to it maybe after 9 months or after 12 months. If I'm designing right now next year's autumn winter and thinking that these kind of t-shirt or these kind of shirts will work, it's just pure betting. Unless until I don't have a visibility, I'm surely have a visibility where my DNA of the brand says that you have these kind of shirts or these kind of types or these kind of solids or these kind of specifically washes works for you. I will surely will put into action, keep my supply chain, keep my ease on my manufacturing, keep the supply chains on, and focus more on the, which is more data, more AI driven. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult. And of course, keeping that DNA of the brand at the same time.
And it would put pressure on your ticket value also, because the prices would go more and more competitive and more value driven, because when you do digital and you're doing more consumption cycles, the people are buying much cheaper products than rather than buying. So how does that changing in terms of?
That's basically in online, of course, there's a lot of competition. So the price comes into pressure. Inevitably, if I say it also out here that we know that's not right, but of course it's the prices which actually matters a lot. But of course, every product has its value. It's totally depends on how valuable products you put it up. It doesn't need to be you need to go on the value and the below. Value can be on the premium segment also. It's totally dependent on how R&D you have, how association with the brands you have or licensing with the brands you have, that you can put that value to give the value to the customer. There is pressure point will be there on the prices, undoubtedly, that is very clear. But going forward, the thought processes are getting changed. People don't want to have too many number of clothes. They want to have one good, nice jacket for a winter. And there are different mind thoughts. So it totally depends on the brands, how they want to take it up. But I would suggest again, if any of the market, if you go, India has a huge potential, huge market available to cater to each and everybody. India predominantly was, if you compare with Europe or the most fashionable market, our fashion cycle consumption is not even a 1/10 of what they do averagely. So there's a huge, we still need to yet to go to that level and then overpass that level and then maybe think of something more where we come and say that we want to consume less. So India has to long way to go right now. I don't think so. The consumption gonna get smaller in the coming time. There will be more number of valued products. When I say value product, that doesn't mean that it needs to be cheaper. I need to say that it can be a premium value product also.
No, sure. I also see the same way. I think India is a very large consumption market. We have all three growths coming in. One, I think our interface with the consumer is increasing from all channels. So the digital channels are coming in, giving more interface. Second, I think our capability, our brand penetration itself is very low. We have the lowest brand penetration in the world. In India, we still have a less than a 10% brands available. Whereas you look at a market like UK, where we have upward of 70% brands available in the market. So we have a huge gap, and also overall ticket value growth. I think that also would come in. So I see a big future for coming in. But while I think India on one side would continue to do what I call developing country natural growth cycles, but from adaptability of a business model viewpoint, we'll come very close to the design sense of a West. And that's something which is very important, because in the last 4, 5, 6 years, and I speak to a lot of our conventional Indian brands, and they always tell me that what is happening to their business. And I used to tell them that, look, your brand is no more relevant, so because people need aspiration, they need some story to be told, then only they start making decisions of buying. Otherwise, they would not buy. Unless and until your brand tells some kind of connected story, that only goes in. I mean, the American brands have a very Americana feel to it. By the time you just can put in a very Americana feel to it, bolder structures, and it might be the US polos, and might be the Tommy Hilfiger, and takes of them.
US polo is a
yeah. I just still wonder. I mean, I think this is one of the biggest selling points still in the fashion space in India, especially for young. This Americana feel to itself is the best, and not so much on the European design sensibility. And any comments you have for that? What do you see which is very unique to India and even China. China also see a very big Americana feel to it.
India and China, the only thing common in between both of them is Americana fixations. So we love the American way how it's been served. So to the case of US Polo, it's in itself is a winning case study. It's it's the past 1 decade is the fastest grown brand in India, homegrown brand in India, and whole credit to the basically the team how they have made the brand in India out here. If you see, it's a beautiful brand. Not much of brands can do something like that. It has a customer base from the youth to the customer base goes up till 40s and 50s. So, and still everybody is look forward to the expression and the beautiful, the DNA of the brand is still intact. So, and still growing at very, very, very fast rate. So that's a beautiful case study. It itself is a winning story case study, which people should look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still wonder that this is the kind of success US Polo has seen. I think there's no other brand has come closer to what US Polo has done. And I think this is a remarkable learning. And this is also about how well it is executed, because the execution also plays a very important role, because I know a lot of similar polo brands have entered the market, but their execution and their design structuring and understanding different target group. While when it becomes broader, it looks good, but it also can confuse you. Where you are addressing a 40-year-old and you are addressing a 21, it can get confused. It's much sharper to work on a smaller target group and go deeper into that. It's much easier for a design thinking also, because you're understanding that. But when it becomes wider, then it's actually becomes, you try to please everybody and can sometimes become a confused brand. And this has happened with a lot of conventional brands which have become confused because they're trying to address everybody. Look at the failure of Bill's Lifestyle in India. It became from a fashion brand to a family mart, which trying to sell everything to everybody, right? So ad has lost the complete design orientation, aspiration, and so on and so forth. While the product and merchandise might be good, high quality, but it lost the entire thing. So you cannot, from a fashion label, it's very, very, if you try to please everybody, you become a kind of a family mart and try to address everybody's, and that doesn't work, because fashion would always be an aspiration and has to have a story. Vatsal, your question for Anupam?
Yeah, definitely. So, thank you, Anupam, on talking about the growth of e-commerce and m-commerce that you shared with us. In fact, we at Bradford also we have been working with Flipkart and Myntra, okay, and they have been our esteemed partners. We have worked for brands like Marie Claire with them. We have worked for brands like Swiss Military with them, okay, and we have done some very wonderful collaborations. We have just recently signed emoji with Myntra. Okay. So these are a couple of collaborations which we have done, and it's been really wonderful with them. Okay, the journey has been. One thing I would like to understand, Anupam, when it comes to the licensing, okay, what attributes you think that should be kept in mind while talking about the brand, or talking about the legacy, or talking about the story, talking about the design, or what things that has to be or the what values or what recall value. So a couple of things. What should be kept in mind while when we perceive a brand for its licensing perspective, or for the extension perspective. So how do you suggest that?
You mean to say for taking and selecting the brands or licensing brands?
True.
Okay. So yeah, it's a different time and different. Totally depends on the time. A decade back, we were looking for the category. So everybody was looking and digging out for the brands like denim. If somebody is a leader in denim, get licensing for it. Maybe in sports, we got US Polo. For casuals, you have some others. You have Aeropostales and all, or you have very retail operationally Gap, which is beautiful retail operations concept. It was a different story then, and it's not that all of them will work. We had got energy, and it didn't work with that aspiration. So it's totally dependent. That decade was different, and now decade is totally different. Now, what you have to find is a gap. What you have to find, what you are missing out with. You have to find what connect you want to make to the youth. You have Generation Z out here sitting in with you, maybe you don't have brands to connect with them. So you need the licensing which can connect with them. Everybody wants to get connected with the Instagram followers or Instagram who has, so, and many licensing are available right now. If you have a TV defined to it, better go for those rather than just taking a wider licensing. Yeah, you can always take a licensing of a brand, maybe like Ed Hardy, but you can't be just doing. You have to do a justice to the whole concept. And to some extent, if you have a subcategory, suppose you take a licensing for Goodyear. It's a beautiful licensing brand. You can do a nice, good outerwear range out of it, continuing from outerwear to the winterwear to nice boots and shoes. But it will restrict you. Better not to get into the cult with it. It has a lot of appeal to outerwear. So be specific in what kind of licensing you're looking at. I would suggest that there's a purely untapped gaps are available right now in licensing format. You can see Fortnite and Minecraft. I don't know, not much of people have licenses about it. And if they have licenses, also they have kept it very, very centric to online portals. Their potentials are huge. Right now, Fortnite average amount of spend is more than including Facebook and WhatsApp together. The person who plays Fortnite, he spends more time than even the average person who spends time in Facebook and WhatsApp together. So it's a brilliant brand. It has a youth connectivity. It has a youth connectivity. It has a team connectivity. Not much of brands have used it. Minecraft is again one of them. So basically, have your studies well. Where do you want to connect to it? There's always available. There's always brilliant license brands available for it. It totally depends on how you want to take it. Maybe for Indian market, if you have a value market, there's a beautiful Chacha Chaudhary is also there. So nobody has seen it before them, but they have come up with their own licensing. It's totally depends. Maybe it's right for my brand or not right for my brand. It totally depends. That's how much aspiration that it has. But if it's the connectivity is the connect to your TV is there, then that's purely what you should look at it. The gap, what you should look at it. What I'd say.
Really, very tightly said, Anupam. I think backward integration is something which is very important when it comes to selecting the brand or working out the licensee. What kind of TG are you going to work on? What kind of connect that you're going to come up with? What category that you need to focus upon? Okay. So of course that's definitely very important. For so how do you see the scope of the homegrown brands as you already have Flying Machine and as you said you have already signed up a some deal with. I would say Flipkart, right? So how do you see that the opportunities shifting towards the homegrown brands and domestic brands, and we should also start adopting licensing, and what opportunities do you think that they have on the table?
Yeah. So of course the Flying Machine is totally our homegrown. Rest of our brands and the most closer to my heart of the brand is, and it has grown phenomenally, frankly speaking, in the past few years. It's an totally Indian youth denim wear brand. And the association with licensing will always help you in your horizon. It'll go more specific with your TVs. Our association with a lot of licensed brands, which we have been doing from past 5-6 years. We have done the Disney part to it, from the DCs to the Star Wars to almost each and every licensing we have been taking and doing along with it. People always misunderstood in taking it up that doesn't give you volume. This doesn't give you much more of. It totally depends how you take it and how do you put it up. We did a beautiful collection of Game of Thrones just before the final season. The spike what we got was amazing. We ran out of it. So it totally depends how do you want to take licensing, how do you want to take those collaborations along with it. And as long as these all collaborations are integrated with your homegrown, and if you have a e-platform where you want to connect, because e-platform is much more faster, you able to study what is working up better. And if you have the capabilities infrastructure to convert and to use that digital analytics on your side and try to produce more out of it, and it's a brilliant story. It's a winning story altogether, and licensing will always help you in gaining you that freshness, will gaining you in that another one level of customer, which you will always add up to your whole PG growth.
Anupam, now I'll take a little bit of separate question. Sorry, Vatsal. So, I'm seeing there's a gap in now the real good talent available in India. While you have experience and you've gone through, but we are seeing this as a agency when we work with a lot of companies and try to develop a licensing program with them. I feel that most of them, outside the 3 or 4 mature large fashion retailers, most of them don't have capabilities and they lack capabilities. And that's one of the reasons, because it is now kind of become a norm in the industry that when you have any new IP coming in, you have to reach out to 4 or 5 companies only, because fundamentally, we see that there is nobody else would be able to develop the program that well. And that creates 2 problems. One, these 5 companies obviously have their own bandwidths to really expand and so forth. And the new ones are not able to get that. So the industry is not really, while the opportunity is much wider, but there are not many players coming in this space. And that remains the big challenge. Do you really feel that that's also challenge at your enterprise, because the kind of talent you require to really understand licensing and work on creating, or is this not that so much of challenge for you?
No, not exactly. We never find it a challenge. We have a talent pool, which they are very, very talented in terms of their product strategies, in terms of product teams, uh, in terms of specific collab with doing with the specific categories. So if the brands, if the licensors are looking for us, they know that we have those kind of infrastructure with us. We have a brilliant design and product to tackle it, the sales to make it sure that it gets into the networking. And the way we structured our market, we have our own stores, we have department stores, we have online commerce, and then we have the multi-brand outlets. So the kind of network, the kind of the whole market what we have. So anybody would love to get collaborated with us. And in terms of design, yeah, because you are right. Basically, after a one point of time, every brand house will have a bandwidth. They will not be able to grow because they will not have the financial goal to grow over and above, or they will not have appetite, or they will not want to be also. In that case, yeah, there's a huge opportunities available for the smaller or smaller, I would say, manufacturers, or even to some extent exporters, or to some extent the smaller retailers also. And they are doing it. And smaller retailers are doing very phenomenally, beautifully. I know a couple of them, and they have got licensing brand, and they have their retail concept. They're making it, some of them making it look, playing it as a private label, some of them making it all going out of the way also and making it as a brand. So it totally depends. How do you want to take the license? It's up to you. What's your goals are, how you want to take it up. But I would say what you're saying is right. Exactly, that bandwidth is not should be limited to the just 4 or 5 brand houses. You have huge amount of potential investment.
Absolutely. And that's where I think the big focus for Bradford has been that we're trying to really work along with a lot of these smaller ones to really help them in terms of running a 1 program or a 2 program to begin with and build their capabilities. But this would need a lot of evolution. And unless and until that evolution of a potential strong licensee start coming. And I see clearly now, particularly post-COVID, because a lot of exporters, export houses, which have great capabilities, design sense, and they never looked at domestic consumption because predominantly they looked at always, I mean, the dollar value was always very attractive and so on and so forth. Now they all shifting into looking at domestic business, and licensing would become a very interesting play for them. And they can adopt a licensing, and because they have manufacturing and design capability, and only thing they lack is a label or a brand. And if that comes in, that would give them a great opportunity to do that. So I see a big future now for licensing, especially for these export houses to now get into the domestic life cycle. So before I think we're coming to the last 5 minutes of our discussion. So I would like to take, because if you get somebody from design, if you don't ask him what is the next 3 years trends and how do you really see that, it'll be waste, because we need to really pick your mind and give our audience and both on the webinar and Facebook Live that what are the 3, 4, 5 trends. That's one question. The second question I have is, I've personally been very passionate, and Vatsal also works with me on that. I always believe that India also have a great brand story. Why would companies like yours not look at unlocking, rather than a polo club out of a US? Why don't a polo club out of India, right? So why would you not look at some IPs which can be great Indian IPs? Why everybody is so scared and everybody wants to go by the book and say, let's do very Americana, let's do very French, where do we do Italian? Anything which sounds between French, Italian, and Americana becomes fashion to world. A little bit now Spanish, because I think because of influence of Spanish influence coming in. So between these 3, 4, 5 markets, our entire fashion thinking really goes in. While I have nothing against them, but fundamentally, I also feel that a country as large as India, you know, also has a very strong design sense, and we have also very strong design capabilities, designers available in the market, but none has actually unlocked, at least in the large. Yeah. So two questions. One, what is the 3 years from Anupam viewpoint, that if you are thinking that what is the 3, 4 things which will disturb the fashion space, and second, what is the why would we not look at Indian homegrown designs?
Yeah, so I'll come to the second question first. There's a beautiful brands, frankly speaking. And the best part of it, these Indian brands, when I call it these Indian brands, Nicobar, you have Fab India, you have, of course, High Design, then you have Ikat Story. They have the phenomenally beautiful, beautiful brands. Then the numbers is endless. The potential doesn't lies out here. The potential lies in West for those brands, frankly speaking. And you are the guys who can actually take them up from out here to there. And these brands are not just the brands what influenced by Western, or they work on the trends which works on Western autumn, winter, or spring, summer. They work on Indian trends. They work on Indian festivals. They work on flamboyancy. They work on vibrancy, the Indian colors, and they are not too matched. They are beautiful, and they will have huge potential. What we have been doing is, of course, our point is basically getting the more Western, of course, Americana, the European part of it out here. But going forward, the way you said the COVID, post-COVID, maybe the thought process will be a totally different. People will look Indian brands with more respect and with a lot of, because so much of connect to sustainability is already there in these kind of brands. There's so much of community-driven brands, all of these are. And they are very, very true to their DNAs. And there's a list of it. So I don't see any ways that these brands will not grow. They will grow how much bigger, maybe just not in India, maybe outside of India. And there are many yet to come. And they will be just bubbling up right now. You just need to identify those and take them up to the world. It's not going to be, it's the way the Urban Outfitters were there. It's a small brand started in late 80s. And it was a small brand with a smaller concept, with Americano concept in America. And it became bigger, and it's there in whole Europe right now, and it became bigger. Same way, these brands easily can take over the European and American market in coming future. Yeah. And going forward towards the trend, yeah, of course, everybody will wear clothes. Everybody will wear lot of clothes. What I can see, if you want to say for 3 years part of bigger productivity, the utility is the one thing which will come to it. When I say utility, it doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of pockets and all. When I say utility, yeah, of course, your shirt need to have a lot of finishes, which will throughout the day will help you in protecting you with not many other. It will help you in supporting of the whole your lifestyle, whether it's moisture content absorbed into it, whether some kind of repellent to it, whether some kind of futuristic finishes to it. So that is for sure. That is what the people want and what the how. One is that. Second is sustainability part. You can't just live without it. You have to be part of it, and through sustainability in a true way. So I'm saying basically in a wider terms, this is how it's gonna be. People want to be more know their want to connect it to the roots. They want to be more sustainable. Whether it you want to do a post-consumer based make out of it, or you whether you use a natural dyes or whether you use organic. But as long as you are more genuine to it, you have a lot of verification along with it. What people will look for it in next 3 to 4 years, 5 years, even for the coming years. And another thing is basically more relaxed. The third part is I would say that more relaxed and more I would say still easily go to work but still in relax. So maybe athleisure is one, but if you combine athleisure with lot of casual and formal concept along with it, you're still wearing a trousers but still make you feel as if you can run over it. That's how the formal is gonna be. It's not gonna be formal with just TVs and TVLs and all those. So the future is purely if you want to be relaxed, you want to be on the go, you want to be to tackle the urban culture. So that's how. So the three things purely: a lot of finishes, lot of protective finishes, futuristic finishes, sustainability, and third is of course the futuristic of athleisure. That's what I would.
Absolutely, and this is what we are seeing in mature markets, and India would also shift what we call functional clothing, sustainability, and what I call, styling would always remain with fashion. So styling you cannot never take it, but functionality and sustainability would become a two very important aspects, and that's why the companies like Lululemon, likes of them, has actually emerged. But that's what only one part of the business. But I think it starts with one, and then it integrates with the mainstream fashion line also, and that's the trend which everybody is working on. So before we close, any last comments from you, Anupam, Vatsal, because we've already done the entire thing. So any last comments you want to really put it for our audience?
Sir, the last question that I had was we wanted to have the sense from you, Anupam, which you have actually said your views on. And of course, we are looking at a larger level when it is coming to the growth of Indian fashion industry the next couple of years. Okay. The way the ease of business has become with the rise of all this m-commerce and e-commerce. Okay. The kind of knowledge, I would say, the kind of understanding these exporters and the SMEs are coming up with. Okay. They've all started shifting their whole base, their entire thoughts towards the Indian fashion and domestic market. Okay. So I definitely we believe, the coming couple of years is going to be really, really big for the Indian domestic fashion market and, for the brands, okay, to nurture in the different level altogether. Anupam, we just got a question which, from Ms. Khushbu Malhotra. She has a question. Give thoughts on sustainable aspects for India in terms of fashion.
I couldn't get you. Can you just repeat?
Give thought on sustainable aspect for India. This question is come from Ms. Khushbu Malhotra. So, keeping the fashion thing in mind, so I believe she wants to understand how we can have, the kind of, a more sustainable environment when it comes to the fashion and, the resources or the raw materials. I think this is something which what she wants to understand.
Yeah. So to sustainable concept, I will just, of course, it totally depends on the brands how they want to take it up and what sustainability. Of course, everybody has a restriction when they say that sustainable. When you say sustainable, then people go towards the thought of making it organic, making it no chemicals, making it depending on what the usage is. I would suggest that sustainability is just not should be kept out there. There's a huge broader aspect to it. It's how do you run your brands, how do you run your business. If there's a huge amount of sustainability concept in the whole thought, uh, the brand can become a sustainable. Just not just because of using those products and concepts will make it sustainable. Fashion is one for sure. It will have the because it's a purely a consumption part, and when you do so much of consumption, you left out with lot many non-sustainable products along with it. So yeah, of course, we continuously in Flying Machine from past almost 4 years now, we've been doing a Eco Warrior range, which has a post-consumer based product. And I wouldn't say that it is it got accepted so easily in the starting, but we put it up. We were pretty sure about it that we want to put it up. And my thought was like, we will slowly run, we will make it maybe with a 3% to 4% to 6% of the part of the category. We will increase to 10 to 12% how the brand wants to take it up. Maybe post-COVID, it become much more bigger. So even a small step, if you take towards a brand which makes it sustainable, it's a bigger, better step. People will say that the brand is not sustainable, just doing 8 to 10% of your line into sustainability categories. Yeah, perfectly right, because that's how the brand sustains. The brand has a different concept altogether. It runs on a different goals. But if you have put your steps over it, where you can foresee in next 5 to 7 years, you can make your whole brand 100% sustainable. It's a wonderful story in itself.
That's great. That's great. So I believe that's really very important, and I believe the brands have already started practicing a lot of aspects when it comes to the sustainability, the environment friendly, and all these things, right from using the recycled products. Levi's has done a lot of kind of segments, I believe, in this segment. And I believe a lot of uh, uh, practices have already been in fact used by all these brands to have that kind of sustainability at the end of the day. So that's it. So I believe that was a really wonderful session with you, Anifa, and special thanks to Bharat, of course. So the way you guys have actually moderated the whole, it's actually a very eye-opening for every people who have been participating and watching of this webinar. So this is really wonderful, and we are actually looking forward to uptake when it comes to this holistic brands and fashion. So we are counting a big coming from the design perspective, coming from the merchandising perspective, coming from the inventory perspective, the brand story perspective, all of those things. Basically. This was really wonderful to have you here.
Sure.
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for joining us on this another episode of Unlock Brand. Next week, we will also present how Indian brands can also unlock their brands. A lot of great brands that are available in the market which don't know how they can effectively use licensing as a growth strategy. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, and we will see you next week, Thursday again at 11 o'clock for another meeting of Unlock Brand with Bradford. Thank you, Anupam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anupam. Once again, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Bye.